All right, everybody. Welcome to the live edition of the Nolecast. Really excited to join you as always. Got some great recruiting stuff to talk about that we'll kind of push to later this week. We're also really excited to talk about the award that we won. Won't stain y'all's ears too long on that, but we were really thrilled and only were able to claim the Best College Sports Podcast Award because of you, the listening audience, and we'll have probably a little bit more time to talk about that on Thursday night. So certainly look forward to it. But tonight, going to talk about a variety of subjects, but we're going to start the podcast thanks to our good friends at Tarpon Cellars Wine, speaking about Rising Spear. And we're going to have a couple individuals join us, if I'm correct, Bud, give us a better idea as to where they are, kind of how they've positioned themselves in the market and why Rising Spear is a little bit of a unique tool and able to be more aggressive in their support of Florida State athletes, thanks to the generosity of others. So a lot of different things to get to tonight, Bud, and let's jump straight into it.
Yeah, really appreciate everybody jumping on the live feed. Looks like the numbers are pretty strong right here. We'll give this another tweet just to pop it out. And also, Ingram, I do have a little video for us to play tonight before we really get started. As you mentioned, we really appreciate all of our audience for voting for us and naming us. Well, just watch the video. If you're at home, I'll kind of comment over it when we get back.
We kept it out, man. We kept it real simple. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they sent us. And hey, we're not super high tech here. We're high tech enough, but the numbers speak for themselves, and y'all voted us the #1 college sports podcast, I guess, in the world, although really no other country plays college sports. So kind of just the United States, but really appreciate notification gang on. If you guys have not clicked that bell, notifications on for the Nolecast. Occasionally we do the pop-up shows. We don't give you all any notice, and that's just kind of a nice reward for the folks who have hit that thumbs up and they have turned those notifications on. Let's go. Cool. Yeah, nice live numbers here so far. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off with a little NIL. We've talked about NIL for a couple of years now, and joining the show, we're going to go 4-box here on this and welcome in first Rashida Gale and Matthew Quigley from Rising Spear. Guys, welcome to the show.
Bud, Ingram, thank you all so much for having us on.
No doubt. Rashida is an advisor for student athletes. Matthew, a director at Rising Spear. You guys heard us talk about Rising Spear a couple weeks ago and some stuff in the Florida State NIL market that I said I think some big stuff is coming. I went to school with Quigley. I've known him for 15 plus years now, and or hell, maybe older than that, man. Maybe coming up on 20 years. I think we're getting pretty old.
We are, bud. Yep.
So Florida State wants to be competitive in the NIL space, and the way that they plan to do that, not officially with the school, because in Florida with the state laws, we can't officially say that this is Florida State endorsed, but just from conversations with Quigley, from what I can tell y'all, Rising Spear is run by a bunch of successful FSU business people who are alums at the school. It's not a business that they're trying to, expand, and they're not going to have Rising Spear Gators and Rising Spear Canes and Rising Spear Clemson. It's guys who have a lot of experience and success in the business world, and in some cases, they've given up seats on FSU boards because under state law they're not allowed to be associated with the school in that official capacity. But they did so because they believe in this so much, right?
Yeah, Bud, that's spot on. So our co-founders, Bob Davis and Alan Flamenhaft, both resigned their positions with the booster board. Lance Barton as well. Our founders and our board of directors are. It is literally for them, right? It is like faith, family, business, and Florida State football, or Florida State athletics. Like that is it for these guys, right? And we are all in on FSU athletics and helping our student athletes and getting our athletic programs and football back to where they should be.
For sure. And I guess talk about, if you would, the importance of having people who understand Florida State, given the complexities of the state law in Florida. I think we're all very familiar how the state tried to get out in front of things by being one of the first states to pass a law regarding NIL, but they ended up shooting themselves in the foot a little bit with some of the complexities when the NCAA ultimately punted and said, hey, it's Wild West, just do whatever the heck you want, whereas Florida has a pretty in-place law that makes it challenging to navigate. So talk about the importance of the experience that the founders have and their relationships with FSU and how that might help Rising Spear be the place to go if you want to support FSU NIL.
Yeah, Bud. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the hammer right there. As far as our state law, so we can have no relationship with the school. But being that some of our co-founders, right, and some of our board members, their names are on certain buildings around school. So obviously they have a way better relationship with some of the Florida State athletic department than anybody else would. So due to that, right, we are also able to offer some pretty special member benefits that we can get into as well.
Nice. I'm going to go ahead and share the Rising Spear website now. Really awesome. You guys have something to share. I've been asking Matt for a while. Hey, what can I share? When can I share? He's like, we're going to hold it until the week of the spring game and make a big announcement about us. So let's go ahead and add this to the stream. I'll play with what options we want to go here. Side would be better. So right off the bat, we're seeing here 100% of donations go to support FSU student athletes. So I ask you, who's covering operating costs?
Yeah. So Bud, once again, that's our board of directors, our co-founders. They have stepped up to the plate immensely here to make sure that our student athletes are 100% taken care of. And there is zero administration fee coming off of that. All of the money that comes into Rising Spear is going to our student athletes. That was paramount in our launch, and we wanted to make sure that we had all of that covered.
I think that's really huge. I mean, we talk about, hey, this is not a business. This is something where they're really trying to get all the money to the athletes. That's kind of putting your money where your mouth is. But when I heard that, I was like, yeah, we got to have you guys on the show to talk about this. So
I think that's worth reiterating real quickly. I'll be honest and complimentary at the same time here. I think you guys have been slow to bring this to the market to an extent, but I also think you've got it right. And I think that you have a situation where this is not somebody that's looking to put 8% into an own personal fund or something like that. This is, and that may be generous compared to some of the rates that I've actually heard out there. You guys have been very strategic with how you've brought this to market, but when you've done it in a manner in which people can feel 100% confident as to where their money's going, who it's going to, and that nobody's going to be adding a boat to their repertoire or anything else based off how they were able to position themselves in the NIL game with Florida State athletics.
Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, Ingram, I mean, 100% right. We are so happy that Nole Nation has been patient with us because, look, we didn't launch right back in June or July, August of last year, right? We wanted to make sure that we had everything ready and that all of the money coming in was going to our student athletes. So we had to, take a little bit of time and make sure all of that was right.
So let me ask you guys this. And say you guys colloquially, sorry, Matt and Rashida, what do you feel like the potential is for FSU recruiting? Now, it can't be a recruiting inducement, so I don't be like, which players can you buy? Like we have to, kind of be careful how we step this thing. We've all read Meet the Bagman, et cetera. What are your goals for this? What do you think FSU can get to, and where can you all take it with the help and support of the FSU fan base?
So,
Yeah,
Rashida, I was just going to say, so guys, Rashida Gale is, once you hear her speak, everybody kind of told us we got to get Rashida involved. She is she's a Forbes 30 under 30. She's going to be helping our student athletes in an advisory role. And Rashida, why don't you go ahead and explain how you're going to handle that?
Of course. Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me, guys. Ingram and Bud, y'all have no idea how much of a fan I am. Bud, Tomahawk Nation days, like before Jimbo became head coach, I used to read that website every day. You taught me football. I just want to say that you absolutely taught me football. And you are so honest in those comments when you used to comment back to people. I'd be like, what does Bud have to say? So I just wanted to say that. Huge fan. So, my role, I run a sports and entertainment agency. We represent professional athletes, we represent influencers, we work with brands. And so when NIL became a thing, it was automatic for me to say, how can I support Florida State? Coming from the school, graduating in 2014 and being so involved with the athletic program, I actually worked in the marketing and promotions program during my time at Florida State. I wanted to make sure that I gave a voice or gave resources and support to the student athletes. And I just know that I want us to do better. I want us back winning, not just on the football field, but across all sports. Really, for me, I think, you guys mentioned that it started slow. I think that's important. It's a good thing that it started slow because this is the Wild Wild West and everyone is creating something that they don't know if it's going to work. So it's so important for us to take our time. We don't want to be too slow. We don't want to not be competitive, but we want to make sure that we build the right program. And it's not just about the marketing deals. Like that is a small aspect of NIL. NIL is really about entrepreneurial opportunities for student athletes, how they can get involved in business, how they can build their brand, and how they can maximize being a student athlete, especially post-career. Once they graduate, looking at different opportunities for themselves, being able to start that in college that's really the game changer. And so we want all of this, the money, the resources, and the support to go towards amplifying the student athletes' resources and ultimately their goals and objectives to do well after their career at Florida State.
I think that's a great point. And obviously a lot of kids can't have like the full-time jobs during school because, football, as we know, and the other sports as well are so time consuming. So it is really difficult to do that. So if you can set them up with business opportunities, even after school, that's really fantastic. I was talking to Quigley on the phone, before we get into sort of the options here and demo the rest of the website. He made a comment to me that kind of stuck with me. He said, none of the transfer class that FSU brought in asked for anything before they got here. And that to me really speaks to the good job that this staff did. We don't need to really revisit signing day necessarily. We know they kind of got flat-footed a little bit. They've made some changes behind the scenes there. Bringing in Derek Ray, I think is a good one from Oregon State. But they rebounded nicely with the transfer class, it appears. They have a couple nice hits there based on spring practice so far. And now I think a couple of those guys in that transfer class are starting to get deals. But just think about the potential of player attraction, even though it can't be an inducement, of course, and player retention as well. Think about the guys who bypassed the draft this year. Jamie Robinson being an example, who decided to come back. And it's a lot easier to roll the dice, I guess, on going maybe in the second round as opposed to the fourth or fifth if you have a little walking around money. You know what I mean? Not that it can be an inducement, of course, right? But it certainly can help a little bit. Matt, what do you think the potential is once you guys get this thing going?
Yeah, so I mean, our goal here, right, is number one for this week to get as many donors as possible, right? We want as many Garnet. It's a non-charitable donation. It's a charitable donation. It's for a nonprofit. Get as many Garnet donors as we can for this week. But into the future, I really think that we can have a fund, by next year in the $5 to $7 million range. And with that at Florida State being where we are geographically in the United States, and as Rashida touched on, are really like hands-on involvement with the student athletes as far as helping them think of it as they're business owners, not just like, hey, I want to check for a social media post or an Instagram story. Like really teaching them how to be a business owner to propel them in life, right? So I think all of that mixed together, can definitely compete with a Tennessee that's a fund of $15 to $20 million.
I wanted to go back to the proof of concept idea real quick. I know I've spoken to Ingram on the phone about this quite a bit. To the casual, and if I want to call him sidewalk fan, I don't mean that in a derogatory manner, but maybe the person who doesn't watch other FSU sports, they just watch FSU football. They watch our podcast, they read Noles 24/7. They say this team is not that great right now. It's improving, it's on the rise. What if I don't want to drop a huge NIL deal on one of these kids on the roster? How important is it for y'all when recruiting and talking about potential deals? Again, you can't actually officially arrange them, off the jump, but certainly they can be sort of arranged once the kid gets on campus. How important is it to have proof of concept of quality deals for the player on a team that's hoping maybe to win 8 games this year, right? So that you can have something to point to and say, hey, the best player on this 8-4 team just got X.
Yeah, but I mean, it is absolutely massive, right? To be able to point to that for going into the future, right? We're setting ourselves up here for 2025, 2026, right? This is not about 2023. This rising spear is about moving into the future, right? It's not about the right now. Now, at the same time, when you donate to Rising Spear, you're going to see an instant return on your money, right? This isn't like, if you were to donate to the boosters, for instance, in the football only facility, that was that's a 10-year plan right now, right? Or a little less. Donating to Rising Spear is an instant return on your money, and you will see immediate results.
All right, let's go ahead and look here. Oh, sorry, Rashida.
I was just going to say, I also want to add to, we all need to buy in to what FSU needs to become. So, I understand the questions, the concerns, and the anxiety of just wanting to get back to winning, but we have to start somewhere, especially with NIL. NIL is so new. I encourage everyone to do some research on it, because when you see how much of the Wild Wild West it is, Florida State is positioned well to create a program that stands out from everyone else. And so that's just one aspect to recruiting. We still have to win games. We have to have phenomenal coaches. We have to have phenomenal buildings, a program, etc. But NIL is going to be a huge aspect to our ability to recruit at a high level, and that starts now. So whether you donate today or you donate a year from now, you are investing in Florida State athletics, and that's really why we're all here. We invest our time, we invest our money, our resources, and we want everyone to do that for NIL.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you, Rashida, for the 14-second clip that best encapsulates this phone call and conversation, and you nailed it. Thank you.
I told y'all she was good.
Your rep. Everything I've heard about you, Rashida, absolutely. Kesna asked a great question, Bud. If you wouldn't mind bringing that up real quickly.
Before we always like to take some audience questions, and Kesna's an awesome member of the audience, and somehow when I drag that question onto the screen, it appears that Kesna is now over top of Rashida's face. I'm going to try to work on the display here. There we go. Okay,
there you go. My understanding is that you're going to be able to put some thought into this as well on the other side of it. So if you're here in Atlanta and you're doing commercial real estate, you're going to be able to go either directly to you guys or a website and want to pair with a player that's maybe from Westlake or Parkview or wherever, some of these high schools that kindly give athletes to Florida State every once in a while. If you want to go into a little bit of detail as to the specific pairing for not just somebody that wants to give $500, and Lord knows we need as many $500 as we can, but if you're in a commercial business and you have an opportunity to really kind of play at a level that can be a little bit of a difference maker, why don't you give our audience an idea as to how that'll play out and how you guys can really tailor the package to make that as appealing as possible?
Yeah. So really, when you donate to our gold standard membership fund, you have a couple different options, right? Like you just said, Ingram, you can donate the $500 a month if you want, or if you're a commercial real estate fund and you want to have Jordan Travis speak at your conference or right at your company, that's completely kind of up to you, and you present the deal. You contact Rising Spear through our form. You present the deal, and we go to Jordan Travis. And look, Jordan Travis has representation, right? And we will then put those two guys together, and they work that out, I mean, Rising Spear, right? Then we step out of the way. Now, if a player doesn't have representation, that's where somebody like Rashida comes in and gives her advice from her experience, and we kind of try and get both sides to like meet in the middle on a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to add to it. I think this is a phenomenal question. So when you talk about value of a student athlete, that's going to be dependent on the business and what they're looking to accomplish. You could offer anything from an internship to a commercial being done. And so every student athlete is valuable. Let's start there. So we want to make sure that we package this. So you're going to have stars of the show. You're going to have individuals who have massive social media profiles, etc. But we want to make sure that we package each specific individual opportunity with the student athlete. That's a benefit to both the student athlete and the business. It's going to be 50-50 in the middle. So every student athlete is going to be valuable. We're going to value each specific athlete based on what they want to do, right? It's also about, do they want to be in this commercial? Do they want to do content? Do they want to volunteer at a nonprofit? It's going to be about what they want. And we want to make sure that we put together the right matches collectively. That could be individual. That could also be group licensing, etc. So that's going to be on a case-by-case basis. We want to make sure that we, this being a starting program, we want to make sure that we do it the right way and we don't group everyone in one bucket and give everyone the same opportunity.
I think it's great that you have those options there. Now, obviously, and Keston, we really appreciate the question. Keston's always asking the best questions on this show. He really is. Sometimes he asks like 5 or 6, and those are typically awesome. I think it's great that first of all, that 100% of all donations are going to the student athlete. Like, I think there's some real peace of mind in that, with the generous, guys who literally started Rising Spear saying, "Hey, we're going to step up out of our own pocket and cover all the operating costs." And then second, that you can tailor it to that, especially if you are a business, I think is great. Scrolling down the website here, I love the look right up front. Hey, 100% of your donations, not a business. And then if you're a business, there's a special contact form right there. Hey, I'm a business. I want to get involved specifically here. If you happen to be an athlete, you can send us an email. Now, let's go ahead and get into these 2 programs here, because this is really kind of what I think most of our audience, and maybe more of our audience owns businesses than I realize. We do get sponsorship requests, pretty often, and I don't want to sell 8 sponsorship spots on the show. And we're very blessed that we have, 4 year long. So we kind of just stick with the pillars. Of course, shout out Legendary, shout out Congruity, shout out Tarpon Sellers, shout out Louisiana Hot Sauce. So really appreciate all their support. Let's go ahead and talk now. So I want to clarify something. We have 2 options. We have the Garnet Spirit, which is the 501c3 applied for tax deduction, if you want to go that route. And then we have the Gold Standard, which is the membership, which applies more of a collective. Right off the bat, are both of these 100% to the athlete?
Both of these are 100% to the athlete.
Okay.
0 administration fee is taken out, right? It is 100% of both Garnet or the Gold Standard membership go directly to the student athlete.
I mean, I think that's a really important point to point out, because when I hear donation, I think, okay, like 100% that. When I hear membership, I'm like, okay, what is that? But there's off the jump, if they're both 100% going, then I think we can really just kind of focus on the benefits of each. Which one do you want to tackle first? Do you want to tell me about Garnet Spirit, or do you want to tell us about Gold Standard?
Let's go ahead with Garnet Spirit, right? So that's like you said, that's our 501c3 applied for. And this is the one where we team up with local charities, or charities where the student athletes are from, right? So we've already done a few events with the Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend. We have an event with the Special Olympics coming up, as well as Best Buddies. So when you think of Garnet Spirit, right, I want you guys to kind of think of it as the United Way of NILs, without the exorbitant overhead cost that the United Way has. All right.
For sure. I think that's great. And it gets everybody involved in charitable works. And it's a tax deduction. You can feel really good about it unless you have something against the Boys and Girls Club, which, I mean, I guess everybody's got some kind of problem with everybody. But, now what about the other option here? So when I click on Garnet Spirit, I see a couple options. I can go with a recurring donation with a variety of different sizes to fit your budget, or I can also go with the the one time. Obviously, if you want to pop it for 1,000 or 500, I'm sure Matt and Rashida and Lance and Bob would really appreciate y'all doing so. I think it's cool that you have both options because there's. I would say right now, if you're looking to donate under $250 a month, well, let's go ahead and get into the big time perks that y'all are offering, because these are rather limited time perks, right? As I understand it, with the gold standard membership, what are folks getting?
So the gold standard membership, right? We really want to highlight that $250 a month and up donor. And on Friday night, we're going to have an event at Rooftop of Madison 51. There are going to be some big time heavy hitters, special guest. Our alumni advisory board will be there, right? Certain members of it. I mean, it's going to be, you're going to be right there in the middle of college town. It's going to be a fantastic event on Friday night. Then for Saturday, if you donate $500 a month and up, you will be invited to our box suite for the game and for the spring game. Once again, heavy hitters, alumni advisory board is invited to the box. Our board members they own box suites, right, in Doak Campbell Stadium. So sure, for this week, yes, the spring game, that's because that's what's happening this week is the spring game. Now moving into the fall, we are going to have other really cool exclusive events, more box suite access for our donors.
I think that's pretty sweet. You mentioned the alumni advisory board. Obviously, we can't guarantee that everybody will be there, but I just clicked on the alumni advisory board section there of the website, and whoa, y'all got some heavy hitters, as you said here, and obviously there'll be some heavy hitters that you can't necessarily mention right now who I've been texting with, who I expect to come to Madison 51 Rooftop on Friday night. I know I'll be there. I'm not really a heavy hitter, but I feel like maybe I'm like an 8 or 9 hitter in the lineup. This is a pretty nice alumni board here. You got Charlie Ward, Megan King, Derek Brooks, Nikki's on there, Kez McCorvey, Casey Weldon, Jalen Howell. Like that's a really nice group. What do you feel like having
Rashida,
those? No, go ahead.
Sorry, Rashida. I was going to let you go ahead and handle that one.
Yeah. So I would just say wait and see, y'all. We have some more heavy hitters. One of my goals here, being a part of this of Rising Spear, is to get all the athletes to come back and invest in our athletics program. And so I've been in contact with a ton of former athletes, first and foremost, to get them to speak through their experience as professionals within the marketing space, the branding space, et cetera, and to educate them about what we're doing here at Florida State. But then we also want to make sure that they just don't say it. They're involved and they're talking to the student athletes and they're able to give them advice and perspective, et cetera. So we're really looking forward to building out our advisory board. In addition to that, we definitely want to add individuals who have strong business backgrounds in law and finance that went to Florida State that can really provide resources so that it's a holistic collective and not just focused on one specific space.
We have a couple more questions from the chat here before we get back to that gold option, because I think people are very interested in donating and they're having a couple. I'm going to go ahead and summarize a couple of these so we don't have to do the whole thing where I take the webpage down and Rashida disappears because we're putting the YouTube questions. So a couple people want to know, can they designate which player they want to specifically sponsor or donate to? And this one gentleman wants to know, can he structure a contract with, say, advertising by a player with rates that I designate, like snap count, like how many snaps they play? So I'll let you all tackle that.
I'll go ahead with that second question.
Lucky you guys.
We want to make sure that it doesn't need to be too complicated. If you ask for a tweet, you get a tweet. If you ask for an Instagram post, you get a post. If you ask for a player to show up for an hour, you get that hour. Engagement is a very tricky thing to track because of the algorithms of these different platforms. And so we don't want to put our student athletes in a position. Remember, guys, the sport does come first. And the school comes first, the sport comes second, however you want to have it in your head. But we want to make sure that they're still focused on what they need to do, and they aren't overcommitted to their public image and brand, where everything else gets left behind. So these packages will be simple. They will allow the student athlete to participate at a high level. They will give return back to the individual or business that is participating, and we'll leave it at that. It's what's reflected with professional athletes when they're negotiating opportunities. We won't get too much to the nitty-gritty where we end up compromising the participation of our student athletes.
Now, one thing you could do is you could watch if you wanted to donate to a specific player, you could, in theory, and you weren't sure who to donate to. You weren't sure who might get a lot of snaps. You could watch the Nolecast snap count draft, where Ingram and I go back and forth, and the loser has to donate to the winner's charity. And you could, like Padeli's top picks, Ingram's top picks to get the most snaps. If you wanted to donate to one specific player, certainly one specific sport is very doable. Y'all could do that. So let's go ahead and head back here to the two options. So quickly, that's pretty cool. For $250 a month, recurring donation, you get to go and be with a bunch of heavy hitters at Madison 51 rooftop on Friday night. And then is it the 500 who gets to go in the luxury box for the spring game?
Yeah, it's the 500 a month and up gets to go in the box suite. It holds about 40. I mean, this is the primo spot, guys. Like, look, you would never be able to do this unless you have unless your best friend owns a box suite, right? You would never be able to do this for this amount of money. A box suite is 7 figures right now.
And get in while it's good, guys, because this is the beginning. I can guarantee you these prices are going to go up. So if you have it, go ahead and do it and be a part of what we're creating before it's out of reach.
I did have a couple more questions here before I pull the credit card out. So you can specify which sport you want to donate to. Like, if obviously we love all the sports, et cetera, but I could tell you from our analytics, I think about 99.5% of questions we get are football. Like that's kind of where, FSU's kind of a football school. It does a lot of other sports well as well. But like, if you just want to donate to football, you can just literally put, I want this donation restricted to football. Like if you're not a business owner, if you just want to donate to the Garnet Spirit or the Gold Standard, you can absolutely just specify that. As far as perks for the membership on the Gold side, if you're not in that $250 a month or $500 a month range, would you recommend for right now? Because obviously, I know quickly you told me like some more perks are coming for the lower level, kind of micro payment, type donation levels, events, maybe merch, maybe some digital stickers, and digital recognition to show people like showing off. Hey, I've donated $10 a month for X number of months, right? Well, a lot of that's probably coming from what I understand at some point. If you are not a $250 a month guy or up, would you recommend going on the Garnet side right now and just get that tax deduction and give it to the good works?
Yeah, but that's 100% right. So for right now, if you're right, if you have $100 a month to give, that Garnet Spirit is where I really think you guys need to focus your money right now. If you want to stretch it for that $250 a month for to come hang out with us and some of our alumni board, then go for it. But for right now, if you're really under that $250, the Garnet Spirit donation, get that tax deduction, give to some charities. Yeah, it's good all around, right?
It is. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Garnet Spirit here, I think, because I'm already going to the rooftop. I don't want to take one of those spots away from one of our members in the chat. Let's go donate now. And we'll go, what do you go? 500 a month. And I don't want to do the autofill, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off. And then I'll go ahead and go do it. And I'll show you guys what, because I don't really want everybody to have my address and credit card number. I'm sure y'all can probably appreciate that. So we're going to go back to the 4-box here. And billing address. Cool. This is pretty easy. Credit card number, autofill. What's my security code? Not telling y'all. All right. Sweet.
And Bud, just to hammer home how important NIL world is right now. I mean, this is the game changer, right? If we want to win national titles, we need all of Nole Nation, right? All hands on deck right now. Donate what you can. Like Rashida said, get in early, right? We'll remember. Trust me. Rashida's young. She's going to be around a long time, a lot longer than me, right? She's going to remember who helped out and who didn't.
It's a bit of a unique opportunity. I mean, Florida State certainly has some structural challenges with when it was founded and the way that its alumni and the demographics that it play out. But ultimately, I become more and more convinced that the cavalry's coming. The impressive number of people and that this institution graduates and is developing into leadership positions. Florida State will be okay in time. It just has to find this bridge to get there. And NIL and Rising Spear offer a real unique opportunity to our listenership and Florida State athletic supporters as a whole to help play a part in being, that bridge.
Awesome. So I just want to let you all know what you get, by the way, because I know some people donated on the old kind of beta website for the, folks just absolutely could not wait. And so like, hey, I wanted to get a confirmation on the site in addition to the email. I'm showing the confirmation on the site right here, right? $500 a month from the Nolecast Garnet Spirit recurring donation. So it's tax deductible. And I'm not going to show all of you all my email, but I got the email confirmation already as well. So that's pretty solid right there. Quigley, I think, has some issues with his connections. Luckily, Rashida seems to have good internet here, which is solid.
I thought he was just that happy you were taking part of the program. He just had a perma smile on his face, and I was like, all right, yeah, we're doing this. Okay. Happy, everybody's happy.
I mean, one of our buddies from the Nolecast is an accountant, so we'll send this to him. All right, and I'm going to tweet out we had a show donation. Very cool. No, we really appreciate having y'all on. I think the main things here are like, I don't feel like I'm donating to a business, right? Like I'm not trying to give somebody 30% of my donation. Like I know we can't say it's buying recruits, but obviously, like if you guys follow me on Twitter, I've been like, hey, these guys should get paid for a long time. It's kind of crazy that we can give a kid out of the Dominican that's 15 years old a $5 million signing bonus, but we can't give our kids from the States any money until they stay healthy through the most dangerous sport out there for 3 years and then play the draft lottery. So I like that it's run by Noles and folks who I know have really successful businesses and aren't looking to try to make a buck off the NIL space. So I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I want to encourage everyone, if you have something to offer outside of a monetary donation, that's number one, please reach out. We are going to be building a much more robust board, and we want to make sure that we have the best individuals who are committed to the growth of Florida State athletics on that board. And I cannot stress enough how important NIL is going to be to recruiting and to the success of Florida State's athletic program. So this is just the beginning, and we assure you that we are going to be doing everything from now into the end of the year to make sure that we build the best collective that the nation has to offer.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have to get to some listener questions for the spring game, and I hope to see all of y'all at the spring game as well. And definitely tag us on Twitter if you have signed up and done a show donation, just like we have. It just put out our show donation tweet here, and see if I can actually put this. Look at that. All right, figure out how to attach the image. Very cool. Yeah, hit us if you're if you want to do it. Obviously, it's everybody's choice, but I do think this one makes a lot of sense to do if you're looking to do it. So
thanks, cool. Bud. Thanks, Ingram. On behalf of Matt and I, we really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening about Rising Spear, and please go and donate.
All right,
Rashida, thank you so much for your time tonight. Very much
guys.
appreciate it.
And we'll be sure to have you all on as we get more updates on the project and new athletes and opportunities are announced.
Awesome. You guys have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care. All right, man. So we're feeling very charitable tonight. What you want to get into some spring game questions here?
Special extra thanks to the Patreon for making such generosity possible.
Absolutely.
So big shout out to those guys. Yeah, man, let's get into it. That was fun. Like I said,
That was cool.
They were quick to introduce themselves, a little bit slow to populate what it was going to look like, but sure do feel more confident having had the chance to listen to Matthew and Rashida. And like I said, a little bit slow to market, but it certainly looks like they've built a strong foundation as to which all this thing's going to be built off of.
I think Quigley's back. We'll bring him on and say bye to him.
Guys,
Quigley,
I
there?
apologize. I'm not sure what happened, but I can't thank y'all enough for that massive donation. That was huge. And I guess I lost internet service right at the point where a $500 donation just came in on a monthly basis. That's amazing. Thank y'all so much. I can't thank you enough for your time. Nole Nation, just watch us work. Please support risingspear.com, at risingspearnil on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And we just thanked our Patreons who make donations like that possible. We have a lot of people who look to support for a lot of years, so we thank them as well, and we thank you guys for putting together such a good cause.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
All right, man. I'll see you this weekend. All right, so spring game. I'm kind of excited about this. Like, I think this team's got a shot to be maybe a lot better, definitely somewhat better. And I figure we put together a little guide for, if you're a fan, obviously you haven't been able to go to any practices, you don't really get to see much footage. What are you looking for this weekend? And we'll wrap this up before, like, plenty of time before the national title game for college basketball goes
on. I really want to see what the running back position looks like. I mean, that's not so much a concern of mine, but it is an area that I want to get a little better feel for what the rotation is going to be like. And they certainly have, high hopes and aspirations for Toafili. And I look forward to getting a little bit of a feel for kind of where we are and taking that reading and seeing what the, collection of snaps is going to look like at that position in particular. But look, if you only tell me I get to watch one, it'd be wide receivers. It's my greatest concern, that of which I would want to take the most from a spring game, which probably sets us all up to fail because we all, as collective fans, tend to, put way too much emphasis on what is really just yet another practice. But yeah, if I can only watch one, it's the wide receivers, and I'll have a second eye on the running backs, if that is allowed, Mr. Elliott.
I think we can pick multiple for sure. So with the receivers, obviously, Brendan Sano, Knowles 24/7 does such a great job with all these practice reports. Chris Nee as well, and I know Zach's out there helping some days as well. I read a lot of Johnny Wilson caught this pass from Tate Rodemaker, right? Or Micah Pittman caught this pass from Tate from Tate Rodemaker. I want to see, like, is Johnny Wilson and Micah Pittman, are they going to catch passes from Jordan Travis? Are they catching passes from Rodemaker because everybody's rotating? Are they doing that because they're still learning the offense? Or are they doing that because it's an ability thing? If it's the latter, then you may still need to be portal hunting for another receiver, because obviously, like, I'm of the opinion that this is beyond anybody's control. Certainly wasn't his fault, and the other, like the car he was in was not at fault. Winston Wright's car crash, and thankfully he's okay. As far as like long term. That's your most significant development of spring, I think.
Still the biggest development of spring. Absolutely.
Yeah. Undoubtedly. That sucks. I'm not of the opinion that Wright was going to step in and be one of the best receivers in the ACC. But he is proven at a level of college football that the other transfers you took at that position are not. And it does make me wonder a little bit about the quality of pass catchers you have. And last year, our friend David Hale, in the preseason, called his shot and rated them the worst pass catchers collectively as a receiver and tight end group. And I don't have a whole lot of 2022 hope for the tight end group, so I'm focusing on receivers here and trying to stay positive. He was right about that. I don't think they're going to be worse in the ACC this year. I really don't. I think it was somewhat debatable at times last year as well. But who is the guy who steps up? Is it your existing Wilson? Is it Johnny Wilson? Is it Micah Pittman? you know, maybe one of the young guys steps up. Do we see more? What do you get at a Burrell? I'm also really interested in seeing the consistency of Trey Benson. Like, we've all seen the clips from practice of him being explosive and him hitting big runs. What is his feel for the game? He has not played much college football. You know, I think that's actually an element here. Now, I'll talk in a minute about offensive line, but like, how does Benson run? How does he pick through traffic? How does he showcase his patience? You know, I was out at the Under Armour camp on Sunday, and it was a beautiful day. Like, a little cold to start out, but we had great weather here in Orlando. And I was talking to Mike Sellers, right? The guy who played fullback and running back for the Buffalo Bills, and like the most jacked coach. He's at IMG now, you will ever see. Like, it. I think I got video of him, just crazy. I'm like, what is this guy like? What does he eat? But you know, these coaches had been there previous. Can you see this? So this is Mike Sellers. Yeah. And NFL running backs are a little bit different than you and me genetically. I will say, super nice dude, but he was talking about, like, how do you tempo routes, right? So you can't run all your routes full speed from the jump. You actually have to tempo them, almost like a pitcher in baseball, right? Full speed, change up. You know, the way you set up routes has something to it. If you're running to a spot immediately, well, if you're at max speed, the DB can kind of track that. The same thing is true in the run game at times, right? You have to have a certain level of patience on some runs, and other runs, they want you hitting the hole immediately. I want to see what Benson's feel for the run game is, because ultimately the athleticism and the testing measures they have on him right now, I've been told, are pretty encouraging. And that's to their credit. Like, I feel like that is potentially a hit in the portal for them, and one that I was pretty concerned about the take, and especially the timing of the take. It makes me wonder if they didn't have I suspect they had workout footage at the
Certainly.
very least.
Yeah, a bit nothing unanimously positive feedback on Benson from everybody that I've talked to down there. And let me suggest that every supportive piece of evidence that I've put my eyes on has been pretty impressive. So nod to the hat, a tip of the hat there on maybe a take that I was skeptical of. And so far, so good on that. And it'll certainly be interesting to see what he looks like in spring.
Absolutely. All right. So anything else on offense? I do want to know two more offensive questions.
I mean, what are we doing at tight end? Like, just give me.
I wasn't going to ask about tight end. I'm just trying to stay all positive,
just,
right? Like I'm not okay. Fine.
Riding the donation high. Absolutely. Why did I take us there?
Is Wyatt Rector for real? Like him being potentially one of the, like, do you really think he's as good as Cam McDonald? He's a decent athlete.
I will say that. Well, he's everything that a lot of people would want to be. You know, a guy that's able to get into the program as a walk-on and create a space for himself. And I just am really in admiration of the individual. Let's not keep playing the walk-on game, man. I mean, this is Florida State football.
Exactly.
We don't need to try to play a walk-on at tight end. I love the stories at running back, but I'll be pretty ready for the day to be over where another promising walk-on running back keeps popping onto the depth chart. I mean, let's get back to recruiting kids and not playing the walk-on game, but label me skeptical of Rector, and be interesting to see what you see out of the kid out of Virginia. Supreme athlete, and how they try to feature him is one of the things that I'm more excited and kind of optimistic about.
I am really interested in, first of all, I am legitimately interested in Rodemaker because when he has seen live bullets in games, and granted, he was a true freshman, at times, it was rough. It was just not good. He has definitely looked better this spring, to the point to where I'm not really sure that they have to go out and take a backup quarterback in the portal. I thought about this today a little bit, and Nole's 24/7 message board poster actually inspired the thought on this. I'm not even sure that person exists that is worth taking as far as in the QB transfer market. So think about this. Knock on wood, this doesn't happen. Jordan goes down. You tell me you're going to get a guy who is better than an improved Tate Rodmaker, better than AJ Duffy, who I'm also excited to see, and yet not good enough to beat out Jordan, because you don't want to take somebody that's going to make Jordan transfer unless you think you've got a for sure stud coming in, but who is also okay with sitting and being a backup. All to do what? Like, if you lose Jordan early in the season, what is that quarterback going to do? Do you go 5-7 instead of 4-8 if you absolutely thread the needle? I think you're a little bit in trouble there either way if he goes down. So
The
I actually
phrase you
think
just
maybe I
used
would not
is-
take it.
Yeah. The phrase that you used was what you're always going to have to do in that situation. You're going to have to go out and find some wildly unique product or wildly unique individual that fit that role. And you're right. Rodemaker's play this spring has made that challenge of threading the needle all the more complicated, because he's certainly risen his level of play and makes that whole formula that much more of a, harder equation to solve.
I'm not really sure they're in a spot now where they can afford to not waste, but use a scholarship on a backup for that reason. They kind of just need to roll the dice and hope that Jordan can stay healthy. So, speaking of health, offensive line, obviously some guys got dinged up in the latest scrimmage. I don't know exactly who's going to play in this spring game. I'm interested to see these rosters and see the format and see who some of these, like, are we going to have celebrity coaches this year? I don't know. We'll see. I know Danny Cannell got a call about something today after cover 3. So maybe he could be one. That could be pretty cool. I know they had some media guys last year do it, and Danny would be perfect for it. Yeah, man. I think this is pretty interesting situation we have. But can they go 2 teams, or do you think it'll be more of a scrimmage format? Like, do you have enough healthy offensive linemen? Do you have enough? Offensive lineman is always the tough one. People are gonna be like, "Oh, it's always the offensive line," and I think that's not unique to Florida State, by the way. I appreciate that comment. I wonder. Yeah, it actually, I sat down and thought about the QB situation today. He said, "Bud, you articulated the quarterback situation better than any I've heard to date. You freaking nailed it." Well, I appreciate that. So like, I am doing, because I got to take more paternity leave coming up for CBS, because it's use it or lose it, and I definitely want to spend more time with the kids during the quote unquote off season. And a couple other people on cover 3 have some leave time coming up as well. Like, how are we gonna have a show, which is typically a 4-man show, if we only have one dude? So long story short, I've been prepping 12 episodes that are just me and a team site guy, right? And it's a mixture, like all 80 team sites going through it. Do you know what almost all of these spring previews and spring game reviews say? They only had 6 healthy offensive linemen that they put comfortable in the game. That's pretty much what every single one says. For some reason, Louisville has like a ton of healthy offensive linemen. Maybe FSU could work a trade there or something. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. But
That'd be a part of the Brownlee deal. Is you just send another one back. Little Greedy Vance, Brownlee, and offensive lineman to be named later. Absolutely.
But like, I want to see Lloyd Willis, right? Not how bad is it, but like, how is it? Okay, if he has to play, are you screwed, or are you just kind of all right in a little precarious spot? You got to chip more over the tight end. What does Caden Lyles go? If so, how does he move? Right? Like, I'm not really ready to move him into a hit category yet on the transfer thing. We're still kind of up in the air. I think if we looked at our transfer grades, how does Maurice Smith look? Like, he's a little more powerful. Has he at least gotten back to where he was early in the season? Because I don't think he was terrible early in the season. It's just kind of attrition got him, and he kind of wore down with the whole back injury as the season went on. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, from the offense. From the defense, I'm actually looking at quite a bit, but I'm almost more excited about the defense. Oh, and of course, Jordan Travis's pocket passing. We do know that they have not been allowing Jordan to run a lot this spring. It's exactly the same approach that Louisville is taking with Malik Cunningham, by the way. And I referenced Louisville because I spoke with Jody Demling of our Louisville site, Cardinal Authority, this morning for that those shows coming out. And they're like, yeah, anytime he tries to take off and get out of the pocket, they blow the whistle. FSU is also trying to limit Jordan's running this spring because they know he can run. They want him to become a better passer from the pocket. So I'm curious to see, how does that look, right? Does he have time to do it? And if he does, are the passes coming off in rhythm, on time? Is he improving throwing the football accurately from the pocket? That's a really important key to this offense taking the next step, especially in some of the quick game stuff.
Moving over to defense, if you don't mind me taking the first pick off the board here. Really excited to see what Renardo Green looks like. Let's see if what we've heard and what we've seen to an extent, carries over into spring. Again, we're not making too much out of one game, but this is most of the game-like atmosphere that you can create in a situation like this, and we're fans, and it's April, and like Bud said a week ago, what the hell are we doing if we can't be excited in March and April as to what the football team might look like? And if some of the real encouraging reports that, quite frankly, maybe had a coaching staff write a kid off, and you maybe had a coaching staff completely change their mind on that, and a guy that's put himself in a place to eat up a decent amount of snaps.
I mean, totally. I think that they tried to put the pressure on him, and he got healthy and has been dependable. Like somebody that doesn't kill you if he goes in. Maybe better than that. I think we're going to see. I do want to see, because I think Duke Cooper's pretty good. A little disappointed. Obviously, Brownlee had to go. Okay, we understand this. You can't act like that. But man, I still liked watching Jarvis play, and I'm going to miss that a little bit. I also I continue to root for that kid. I think he came from a pretty tough situation and background, and just because you're a kid, you make a mistake doesn't mean that you need to be condemned. So I do wish him well. Duke Cooper's kind of my other guy. Now, we've been talking about Duke Cooper for so long that we used to call him a Marion, remember? Until he started going, in the media by Duke. But I think he's a starter for you at corner. I'm not totally 100% willing to say there's no shot that 7 is in this competition, because maybe you could tell me that he hasn't been fully healthy, and when he's healthy, whatever. But for my own peace of mind, I kind of need to see somebody else there opposite of Duke Cooper doing well, if I'm going to buy into the idea that this defense is going to really carry this team. The next thing I want to see, if I'm a fan, I'm looking for, I know Tatum Bethune can run and hit. I want to see Tatum Bethune covering somebody. I want them to try and slip Toafili out of the backfield and Bethune and be like, clamps, and just, or maybe not cover Toafili, but cover somebody who Lundy couldn't cover, right? Mm-hmm. And because if you got that, I really don't think Deloach is bad in coverage. And if you got two backers who can somewhat carry some verticals, who are not total liabilities if they're ISO'd, that allows you to do a lot of things. And then I can start to buy into this defense being a lot better. I do believe that he can be a really good run and hit backer for you. I do like the defensive tackles, that you have. And I think you'll keep bodies off Bethune. I think that's actually probably a market inefficiency that they found, because up front, UCF was kind of shitty. Or, sorry, if you got kids in the car, apologies. UCF was not good up front. So I don't think Bethune had the luxury of not having bodies come out at him quite a bit. FSU's going to clog up the middle on a lot of teams this year. I mean, Lovett and Coop and Briggs, whether he's playing the Fox or if they move him inside, Ray, Jackson when he's playing well, those guys potentially have a real impact there and keep bodies up. But I want to see if they can cover, because there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this division who can throw. I mean, we were picking our Heisman draft today on cover 3. And somebody's like, are you not going to pick Jordan Travis for the Heisman? I was like, I'm not sure I would pick him as a Heisman top 3 in his own division. This is a loaded division of quarterbacks. I mean, depending on what you think of DJ, right? DJ last year was not very good. So Malik Cunningham was absolute nails. Sam Hartman is still there.
I mean,
right? Devin Leary.
I think we can suspend the Jordan Travis for Heisman talk, right? I mean,
no. Right. I laughed at it.
But we don't even need to explain that. It's just, yeah. I mean, let's
not even in his own division, maybe.
Please put us in a situation where we're having that conversation in October. I mean, and
But
we
think
can
about
have it
how many
in
good
October.
quarterbacks you're facing on this schedule.
Yeah, I just
A lot of guys who, if they don't like start NFL games, they're going to be in NFL camps, or they're that blend where they don't really throw the ball well enough, but they're really, really good, for the college game. You know what I mean?
Jordan's a
Bethune needs
great
to be able to
athlete,
cover.
special in the open field. So many miles away from us, needing to worry about that it's hard for me to even conceptualize as to what position to look at and kind of break that down by. So, yeah, I mean, look, about one special athlete to another. Is the Demore Tate conversation real at all? Can we take anything away from spring? Is that something that, if we as a broader fan base see with our eyes, that we can really hope that one of the more supreme athletes on the team has the requisite buy-in, and maybe the light's starting to turn in and he can make this drastic developmental arc that we kind of know that he has to make if he's going to ultimately trend to where it thought he could be at high school. I think we may be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but that would be a fantastic takeaway from spring. Certainly if any of the optimistic talk about Tate were to materialize in the somewhat of a game setting we're going to be able to watch it in.
I completely agree with you on that. All right, last one I wanted to hear. I understand Jared Verse is raw, but I want to see that top end speed turn loose. And I think we will see that in the spring game, by the way. Like I suspect the offensive line is kind of banged up and they're not going to risk those guys for the fall. I want to see him turn it loose. Of course, he's got some stuff to learn. He hasn't played as much football as like a Keir Thomas did last year. But athletically, I want to see him turn it loose and have Norvell kind of like reach for the whistle real fast to blow that thing before he gets to Jordan. That's what I want to see from the defensive line. And we got to say it. Your guy McClendon. I want to see it. The people you talked to were really bragging on him to start spring camp. They thought he had an awesome, December, January as far as hitting the weight room, really dedicating himself. And I think if you're a fan, it's something you got to watch.
If you're not a normal watcher of the Nolecast on YouTube, I would encourage you to just time mark whatever that was and go back 30 seconds previous.
You did like the
Bud's like physical acting out of Norvell having to go to his whistle is honestly one of the funnier things that I've seen him do recently. So that was hilarious and well done, sir. So,
dude, today's been
it was the concerned take trying to get it up to his mouth to blow it as quick as possible. He did a good job there.
Today has been like probably the longest non-national signing day, like non-Amazon Web Service crashing, non-travel work day I think I've ever had. Because I had to do all this prep for all the shows we were shooting, and then there's a couple meetings on Monday that I actually run, so like I can't just have them on to be working while the Zooms go on in the background. Like I'm actually conducting the meetings. And then last night, shout out to everybody in our fantasy draft. So our one service went down, so we had to literally scramble to join another service because everybody was busy and they couldn't do it all the other nights. I don't really care about special teams all that much. Do you want to waste time talking about a special teams question, or do you think people need to go to the bathroom and
not a special teams
podcast,
as we've repeated many times?
Do you have a pick for the national title game?
No, not really. I mean, I loved as a sports fan, was aware in the moment that I was just witnessing. I don't want to say greatness, but just a phenomenal game. Loved every minute of it. Carolina and Duke are kind of birds of a feather to me. I was just watching from afar and happy that I was able to have one of the better games that I've watched recently. So tournament's delivered, in my opinion, and I'll watch tonight and just see what it is.
Hey, last thing on defense, especially if we get 2s on 2s. So if Sam McCall and AZ Thomas are running second team and you're getting them against the 2s, like if Pittman and Wilson are running with the 2s, those are older dudes, right? I want to see how 18-year-old AZ Thomas and McCall
Mm.
body those guys who have played a couple years of college football. And if they can hold up against those dudes, not that I have the highest opinion of Wilson and Pittman, right? You guys know I was Team Winston, right? As far as the receivers they took. And honestly, I think FSU was too. Now they may not have that option for this year. We'll see. If they body those guys and they look good doing it, I'm going to be really encouraged about their ability to play, this year. It's going to be cool.
All right, y'all. We'll have another episode before the game
Thursday,
that we can jump into a little bit more of this. We'll also talk a little bit of recruiting and some of the other things that we started off at the beginning of the pod. So really appreciate you guys letting us bring our friends over at Rising Sphere on, give you a comprehensive look of who they are, what they're doing, some of the advantages that they are able to offer when compared to some of the other collectives out there. And, that went better than I thought it did, as just to be perfectly honest, and was happy with a lot of what I was able to take away from our two guests with Matt and Rashida.
Yeah, I think that they have. I think they've done a nice job taking the feedback from the fan base. They got a couple people donate right off the bat with the old website that didn't look like much, but I think they wanted to have some kind of presence out there, and the new one looks good, it's functional, and there's a pretty good explanation of what you get now and an explanation of what's likely to come. So awesome, man. Appreciate having those guys on. And Thursday night and then a spring game recap pod.
We'll have we've got a decent amount of stuff in the pipeline for you guys. So till Thursday night, enjoyed it as always.
See you, buddy.